Hello, my fine feathered friends out there. This will be part 2 to the article from Matt Taibbi. And again, I do apologize for any of the missteps that I say in people's names or any of the words. And yeah, again, much love everybody out there. And here we go with part 2 of The Trump Era Sucks. All right. In this sense, the Republican Party's 2020 platform is genius. There isn't one. Just a commitment to enthusiastically support the president's America First agenda, meaning whatever Trump says at any given moment, if one can pull back enough from the fact that this impacts our actual lives, it's hard not to admire the breathtaking amorality of this, as one might admire a simple malevolent organism like a virus or a liver fluke. Trump blew through the Republican primaries of 2015 and 2016. His opponents, a slate of mannequins hired by energy companies and weapon contractors to be pretend patriots and protectors of family values, had no answer for his insults and off everything to everyone tactics. Like most politicians, they'd been protected their whole lives by donors, party hacks, and pundits who turned campaigns into a club system designed to insulate paid lackeys from challenges to their phony gravitas. Trump had no institutional loyalty to the club, shat all over it, in addition to its silly frontmen, and walked to the nomination. So long as he was never going to win the actual presidency, this was funny. The Republicans deserved it. Watching GOP chair Reince Priebus to pretend he wasn't being forced to eat the biggest in history shit sandwich by embracing his obese conqueror at the 2016 convention was a delicious scene, similar to what most Americans probably felt watching Bill Belichick squirm at the podium after the Eagles pummeled him in the Super Bowl. The Democrats aren't much better, though, and the spectacle of inevitable Hillary Clinton being too shocked to ascend to the Javitas Center podium, instead sending writhing campaign creature John Podesta to announce through a forced smile that the mortified audience shouldn't worry and should get some sleep instead, was also high comedy, not that I really saw it at the time. They all deserved it. Every last politician ruined that year. The country did not, however, which is why the last 4 years have been a nightmare beyond all recognition. The joke has ended up being on us. The paradox ensnaring America since November of 2016 is that Trump never intended to govern, while his opponents never intended to let him try. In an alternative universe where a post-election Donald had enough self-awareness to admit he was out of his depth and that the DC establishment agreed to recognize his administration as legitimate for appearance sake, Trump might have escaped 4 years with the profile of a conventionally crappy president, or perhaps a few notches below that. Way below average, maybe, but survivable. Instead, it was decided even before he was elected that admitting that the president was normalizing him. Normally, no news is good news, and the anchorman is encouraged to smile on a day without war, earthquake, terror attacks, or stock market crashes. Under Trump, it became taboo to have a slow news day. A lack of an emergency was a failure of reporting, since Trump's very presence was office was a crisis. We spent 4 years moving from panic to panic, from the peace story to the Muslim ban, to Michael Flynn's firing to the Schiff hearings in 2017, to Jim Comey's dismissal, to the treason in Helsinki, to Charlottesville, to the caravan, to Kavanaugh hearings, and beyond. Truly, a little ridiculous, right? When Trump fired Jeff Sessions, perhaps the most determined enemy of the police reform in recent history, one of his last acts as Attorney General was issuing an order undermining federal civil rights investigations. Liberal America exploded in a media-driven street protests. And in the, I'll link to this article in the video on both of them. It shows a little video on it, and I will link to that as well. So next, all right. The problem was this all played into Trump's hands. Instead of crafting a coherent, accessible plan to address the despair, cynicism that moved voters to even consider someone like Trump in the first place, Democrats instead turned politics into a paranoics. Sorry, didn't know that was a word. Paranoic's dream, imbuing Trump's every move with earth-shattering importance as America became a single, never-ending, televised referendum on his orangeness. The last 4 years have been like living through an OJ trial, where OJ testifies all day and retweets at night. I apologize. Not only has this been maddening to those of us who deserve more Trumpless-less existence, especially since it's constantly implied that being anything less than enthralled by the Trump show is an excusable show of privilege. It's massively increased the chances of the whole exhausting spectacle continuing by giving Trump something to run on again. Let that sink in for a little bit. Yeah. Ever since Trump jumped into politics, the pattern has been the same. He enters the arena, hauling nothing but negatives and character liabilities, but leaves every time armed with winnable issues handed to him by overreacting opponents. His shtick is to provoke rivals to the point where they drop what they're doing and spend their time screaming at him, which from the jump validates the primary tenet of his worldview, i.e., that everything is about him. Political opponents seem incapable of not handing him free advertising. They say his name on TV thousands of times a day, put his name on bumper stickers to be paraded before new demographics, e.g., Bernie beats Trump, and then keep talking about him even off-duty, at office party, family dinners, kids' sporting events, everywhere, which sooner or later gets people wondering who's more annoying, the blowhard or the people who can't stop talking about the blowhard. Nearly the whole Trump's case for re-election in 2020 comes from the wreckage of these endless, overheated spy versus spy style intrigues against him. What would he be running on if he didn't have Russiagate, fake news, and impeachment? When the Democrats failed to bring up the latter even once during the recent DNC, conspicuously disinviting key impeachment players like Adam Schiff and Tom Strayer, it made Trump's martyrdom argument for him. If Ukraine was such an important issue in the universe just 8 months ago, where is it now? American politics has become an interminable clash of off-putting pathologies. Call it the hydroxychloroquine effect. Trump one day in a press conference mutters that a drug has tremendous promise as a treatment for coronavirus. Within 10 seconds of a consensus forms that hydroxychloroquine is a snake oil, and the New York Times is running stories denouncing Trump's brazen willingness to distort and outright defy expert opinion and scientific evidence when it does not suit his agenda. When you read this story and find out doctors have been prescribing the drug, that earlier reports from doctors in China and France have said that it seemed to help patients, and moreover that actual quote about it being a game changer from Trump included the lines, "Maybe not, and what do I know? I'm not a doctor." In response to another Trump quote of the subject, "What do you have to lose?" Journalists piled on again, quoting the president of the American Medical Association to remind audiences, "You could lose your life," as if Trump had recommended that people run outside and mainline the stuff. Trump being Trump, he responded to this criticism by doubling down over and over, eventually retweeting a video boosting the drug by a doctor named Stella Emanuel. She turned out to believe that alien DNA had been used in medical treatments. Atheist doctors were working on a religion vaccine, and uterine endometriosis, I'm not saying that right, I know I'm not going to move on, is caused by demon sperm. Yeah. Asked about this misinformation, Trump somehow managed to include both a xenophobic put-down about the Nigerian doctor and lied about his enthusiasm for her, saying, "I don't know what country she's from. I know nothing about her." All of which is insane. But so is rooting for a drug not to work in the middle of a historic pandemic. The clear subtext nearly of every news story is its topic dating back to March. Rule number 1 of the Trump era is that everything Trump touches quickly becomes as infamous as he is. Maybe not the biggest deal when talking about an obscure anti-malarial drug, but problematic when the subject is America itself. Trump's argument is, they lie about me. He attracts so much negative attention and so completely dominates the culture that the line between him and the country that elected him becomes blurred, allowing him to make secondary argument. They lie about you. The incantation works. The New York Times just ran a story about how chaos in Kenosha is already swaying some voters. That quoted John Garrity, former Marine. Garrity first vote was for Barack Obama, and called Trump's handling of coronavirus laughable. But still, this is a quote from Garrity. Mr. Garrity said that he disliked how Mr. Trump talked about the Democratic Party vision for governing seemed little to attacking him and calling him a racist, a charge being leveled so consistently that it was having the effect of alienating instead of persuading people. And the idea that the Democrats alone were morally pure on race annoyed him, end quote. With the election just a few months away, the country is coming apart at the seams. In addition to a pandemic, an economic disaster, and cities simmering on the edge of civil war, we're nursing what feels like a broken culture. Life under Trump has been like an endless Twitter war. Infuriating, depressing, filling us all with self-loathing, but also addictive. He is selling an experience that everyone is buying, even the people who think they oppose him the most. My worry is that the last part, institutional America, is now organized around a Trump-led America. The news media will lose billions with him gone, and will be lost editorially. The Democratic Party has no message, literally none, apart from him. A surging activist movement will be deflated without him, along with a host of related fundraising groups and businesses. Watch what happens to dismantling white supremacy training in a non-Trump context. It feels like a codependent relationship, and the tightening poll numbers in battleground states make me wonder about self-sabotage. He's still likely to lose, but this is all beginning to feel like a slow-motion rerun of the same car crash from 4 years ago, when resentment, rubbernecking, and lurid fascination pulled him just across the finish line. People claim to hate him, but they never turn off the show in time, not grasping that Trump always knows how to turn their negative attention into someone else's vote. Isn't 4 years of this enough? I don't even care anymore whose fault it is. Trump has made us all crazy, and it's time for the show to be over. We deserve slow news days again. Again, that is an article written by Matt Taibbi. And all right, thank you all for watching and listening. All right, you guys take care. Love y'all. Bye.